Hello, this is Marie Diamond, and welcome to the Intuition to Success session number 1. And I'm happy to have a lot of people live on the call. I really appreciate that. And of course, we can also listen to the recording afterwards. So I just am very happy that we are together, and we are together from many different countries. So that's really awesome. And we have a lot to share with you in 4 sessions. I have to make sure that we all very much are muted out. And so I would ask you that nobody that is live on the call opens up the button for unmute, because otherwise I hear your voice. So later on, when we have questions, we can open that up. But now we try to stay like this. Thank you. So it was really interesting why I started coming up with this new course, because I felt that what is natural for me is not always natural for somebody else, And so this is a question that many people ask me, is like, how can I use my intuition better? I live according to my intuition. Now, everything I do is based on my intuition, but it's not for everyone so easy, and especially to create more success in life. And I have seen successful people are always very much focused on, what they receive, like this little hinge, their little gut feeling, their that little extra that they have, and they follow that. Yeah. And so you will see successful business people, successful artists, entertainers. They have this idea, and it comes from somewhere, right? And they call it a creative mind. But I really believe it's your inner guiding system, your intuition, that really helps you to really direct your life. But most people, especially when we're a child, we're very open to it. But then we're closing it off. We're closing it off, especially when we are about 7 years old, because when we are starting to connect in with writing and reading, because then we actually are connecting in more with our analytical mind. When that happens, we are kind of not trusting so much anymore that inner guidance. We are more trusting the outer guidance, because we're going to learn something from teachers. And we start thinking that these teachers know so much more than we know. And they are telling us also, we know better than you. When we are not in the kindergarten, because, they are still playing a lot and we can be ourselves. But the moment we're sitting in a classroom, we're actually getting this outer guidance, the teachers telling us, well, this is what you don't know, this is what we're going to teach you, and you better listen to us, right? Because we know more. So because of that experience, what we need, of course, as a human being, we need to learn to read and to write and to count and all these things. But somehow what we're doing, we're closing off our inner guidance, because the outer guidance is so strong, and the teachers are guiding us through life, and they are telling us what we need to know and what we need to learn. So we don't trust anymore that universal energy that we have, that the source that we all have, and the access to the source of knowledge, the source of wisdom, that is the universal source, what some people would call God, or the creative force, or angelic force, whatever it is called. There is the collective field, right? The collective field of the universe that has all the knowledge. Some would call it Alpha and Omega. Some would call it the everything. The keys of wisdom are in the universe or in the cosmos. It's in the Big Bang, right? So all this universal wisdom, we all have access to that because we are created in the image of that. That's why we are created in the image of God, because God is the name for all the universal wisdom and information. So you have to almost think about, there's this, not that there's a real supercomputer, but you can imagine it as there's a real supercomputer somewhere, right? And we are all in the image of that supercomputer. Yeah, so we are having access to the supercomputer, and we are also a computer in, a clone of that supercomputer. Does that make sense? So, well, not that we are a clone or anything. It's just that means that we have access to that informational field that is called universal wisdom. And so our intuition is actually the access portal. It's a directional energy connecting in with that universal wisdom. And so it's actually the link with that universal wisdom, and that link when we have a question, that intuition energy that's in our guidance system is actually connecting us with that universal wisdom, and we receive information from that. It's like if we would be that computer, we would type in a question. So what we would do then, in that case, we would send out the question and we will receive the answer. Well, in a way, that is exactly what we're doing with search engines like Google or Yahoo. We're actually typing a message and we're clicking on enter. And there we receive all this kind of information, or we can click on videos, or we can click on images. So we can actually receive a lot of information and guidance, and we call it the Google guidance system, right? But just imagine we don't need that computer, but there is an invisible connection between you as a being and the collective field of wisdom. And the intuition is actually the access between you and that collective field. Now, as I shared, when we are younger, when we start using our analytical brain, we actually de-linked ourselves. We stopped the linking and started thinking, well, I need to do it, this way. I need to listen to the sources that are outside of me. And this collective field is not a source outside of you. It is a source inside of you. But we have accepted at a certain time, when we're around 7, that we have, I would say, it's okay to disconnect from it. That's actually what we have accepted. And that we better connect with these teachers outside of us. Now, in a way, I was a little bit lucky, because when I was 7, my spiritual master, Saint Germain, showed up. And he actually reminded me constantly that I had to listen to the silence. I had to listen within myself. Now, in that sense, I was lucky. Even if I was a very good student and I would listen to the teachers, there was always something in me that knew they did not know as much as that field of silence within me. I knew they knew a lot, and they needed to help me to write and read in my original language, for this Dutch, right? That I needed them to learn again mathematics because I had forgotten. And I was very clear that I had known this information before, that I just, each time I'm born, I have to learn to read and write and do mathematics again. Yeah, I was very aware of that. And I was very impatient because I thought, I know this. And as I stayed in that connection with that collective field, I never stopped going there. Yeah, because I was already meditating, and as I was 7, I was already connecting in with that field. That's what I was taught by my spiritual master. But because of that, it was easier for me to even learn reading and writing and mathematics, and I was considered a very, very good student. But for me, I knew this was already information I had received. So why would it be difficult to learn it again? Because it was part of that collective field of knowledge. So can you imagine if children would go to school, right, knowing that actually all what they learn, it already is learned before. It's already there in their collective database of information. As long as they would connect with that, it would be easier to receive the information or to reconnect with the information, because I believe it's a reconnection. It's not a learning, it's a reconnection with that information. So intuition is having the, I would say the link, the road is open. There is no, or the bridge is open between you and your brain, right, and your mind, and this collective mind of, or collective center of information. That already is there, that bridge is there. The only thing what you did is you stopped going over the bridge. You stopped, perhaps once in a while go over it, but not constantly be open to the flood of information that could come in. So what we're going to do in these sessions is that I'm going to help you to open up again and to how to direct the energy so that when you ask a question, it will be like putting it into Google search engine and you receive the information, and learning to trust the information. Because one of the things that has happened when you were about 7 and learned how to learn reading and mathematics is that we stopped trusting that inner information, because it was told to us that the outside information was more important than the inside information. And I remember one day I was in my first year, with Miss Yvette. I will never forget her name. And she was teaching me how to read and to write. And I was sitting way in the back. My intuition suddenly said there was this one girl, and I remember her name was Katarina. And she was sitting way in the front. So I couldn't see her face or anything, but my whole gut feeling, my whole intuition said she is in panic. I just could feel her panic. And so I raised my hand and I said to Miss Yvette, I said, Katarina is in panic. There's something urgent for her to do, and she's in panic. And she said, you better focus on your counting, And I remember it was very early. It was like under 20, like 1 + 5 is 6 and 6 + 2 is 8. This kind of early counting. And my whole intuition, and I was keeping my finger up. I said, no, Katarina must do something. You have to talk to her. And so Miss Yvette was like totally denying me. And Katarina was a very shy child, actually. And she had asked a few times, whispering to the teacher, I need to go to the bathroom. I need really to go to the bathroom. But I couldn't hear that because I was way in the back. There were big classes, a class of 30 children. And so, and I was, each time I could feel, I could not study anymore. It was like that information of intuition was stronger. So unfortunately, Katarina had a little accident, right? And so the teacher became very angry at her because the accident happened where she was sitting. And I stood up and said to the teacher, she asked you, I warned you, you don't listen to your students, right? And she's like, how did you know that? Because you're sitting way in the back. I said, well, I felt it. I knew it, right? And I still remember her face of Miss Yvette. And actually, she learned something from it, and she listened to that in the future when I said things. She would then say, okay, Marie has said we better listen. Yeah. So she was open to that. But how many teachers, how many parents, yeah, as the teachers and the parents are considered our outside source of information, and they feel responsible to teach the children what to do and how to do things, right? They don't listen because they don't listen to their inner guidance system anymore. Yeah. So how can they teach us to listen to our inner guidance system? So it's not us to blame them. It's just, this is what history was about, is that as children, we were open to it. The bridge was there, connect with the collective field of knowledge and wisdom. When we were 7, we closed off and we passed it on to our children when they were growing up. Yeah. Now, thank God, through the awakening that is happening, more and more parents have opened up again the bridge. More and more teachers have opened up the bridge. More and more schools are starting to see there is another way to look at things. And because of that, many more children have their bridge open. Even if they're studying and connect with the outside sources, they keep the inner source and the inner guidance system open. Because of that, we have this shift that is going on, and it's exponential because each generation and is actually a whole new layer of opening up the inner guidance system. Now it's cool to say, I had a hunch. It is cool now to say, I had a sixth sense. Or it is cool to say now, I felt it in my belly. We are okay now to say these things. But it doesn't mean that we actually are still listening to it, because there's still this dilemma that most of us have, where we have been told so many times, you have to listen to what is right. Yeah. You have to listen to what is accepted as knowledge by everyone. You have to listen to what is common in the world, what is done by everyone, right? Instead of to listen to the inner guidance system to say, is this right for me? So this is the first question I will ask you to start asking yourself every day when you have decisions to make, is to say, is this right for me? Perhaps it's right for the community, it's right for the family, it is right for the world, it's right for my religion, it's right for millions of people, but does that mean it is right for me? So start asking that question. Now, I remember when I was asking that question once, and I was in middle school. So I was 14, 15 years old. And I was actually studying with a Jesuit monk. I was studying Catholic training for, I was a Catholic school. And he was asking a question that, according to the church, this is what you need to do, right? And I asked the question, said, but is this right for everyone? If I feel it's not right for me, what do I do with that? And so, And he was like, no. What the Catholic Church says is right for everyone. Yeah. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that dogma, that tradition, right? And that is actually what not just the schools were teaching us, but also the religions have been saying, this is the way how you need to connect in with that collective field. First of all, some religions said, well, you can only connect with that collective field of knowledge through the priests and priestesses or bishops or the ones that are initiated into that field of knowledge. Yeah. The common people, you and me, yeah, because I don't think we are priests or priestesses, we have no access to that. Yeah. Or it was said, look, there was a prophet or there was a person that received the information and it's now in a book, the Bible or the Quran or some other traditional book or writings. And you have to follow what is there because somebody had direct access, a prophet or a teacher, to that collective field of knowledge, and he was the only one that could have access. So you have, in order to access that field, you have to pray in name of this prophet or this teacher, like in the name of God, name of Allah, in the name of Jesus, in the name of Shakti, or in the name of Krishna. You know, you have to pray in the name of, because they are the ones that can open up the field. They are the bridge. You have no direct connection. But that's what most religions have been telling us for more than 2,000 years. Yeah. Now, so when I was asking the Jesuit priests and said, you know, is this right for me? Is this right for everyone? Oh my God, I was a rebel. You know, he was like, how dare you speak so unholy about this, right? So I was not very popular from that day on. But for me, it was like, I questioned things. And I was like, but it's possible it's not right for me, yeah, to do all these things. So, of course, this is, you know, almost like 40 years ago. So times have changed. But still today, you have traditions, and closer to you than you can imagine, even in your own country sometimes, where there are groups and religions that say you have to go through somebody that is initiated into the connection with God, with that collective field of knowledge. And they can ask the question, yeah, but they actually can give you the answer, but you cannot question or be receiving the answer yourself. Now that has started changing, and a major moment in the history of humanity is actually the times around from 1968 till 1974. Something majorly has shifted in the Western world at that time, where all the, I would say, dogmas and all the restrictions of it has to connect in through this religion or connecting through this people or through these books has kind of opened up more. And we actually call this the revolution of consciousness that was brought in by the hippies, yeah, the flower power. And that was a very major time for human consciousness, where people just suddenly let go of the traditions, and they actually went into like, I will see what tomorrow will bring, right? So I don't know where I'm going to live tomorrow, what my food will be, who I'm going to meet. I just live in the flow of life. what they did, these young people, this whole group of young people, they opened up the channel, the bridge again, to not follow what must be done according to the sources, like teachers and government and religion, but to try to follow whatever they felt was right. Now, some of them were following certain things that were perhaps not so right, like, drugs, but what it did, and some of the drugs they were using, and I'm thinking about, for example, it was very popular at that time, was magic mushrooms, for example. But what it was actually old Native American traditions that were used to open up the bridge and the channels to the collective field. Now, I'm not for all of this, because I know you don't need all of this to have the direct connection, but it opened them up. Some of them started using LSD, and LSD was a chemical drug. But for some reason, it actually opened up for some people the bridge, but sometimes, again, in a chemical way. Yeah. But what it did, that whole area was like, through the drugs that are used, they opened up the energy to connect in with a source, an intuition that was different than that they ever had experienced. So they start receiving the messages and the insights, what they had to do. Now, that's happened in the Western world, in America and Europe at that time. And definitely the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and the whole rock and roll world was like a vessel for that. Yeah. Now, that was what happened at that time. Now, interesting enough, in the more Indian tradition, the Tibetan tradition, you see that there already was more information how to connect directly, because there was traditions to find a master, to find a spiritual teacher, and that spiritual teacher would then, when you were ready, open up for you the bridge, so that you would go beyond the religion or the traditions that were given to the common people. And when you were ready, you would meet a teacher that would help you to open up the bridge again between yourself and this collective field of knowledge. And once you have complete access to that collective field of knowledge, that was called enlightenment. That was called self-realization. It meant that you realized that you were that self. You were that field of energy. Okay? So that's why once the Western world opened up and were a little bit, I would say, more disconnected with the traditions of religions, that the spiritual teachers in the early 70s from India and Tibet started coming in to the Western world, because a lot of Westerns were ready to listen within, to listen to the silence, to listen to their inner guidance, because the dogmas were not so strong anymore, and the more people were ready to be learning, to be teaching how to actually connect with that inner guiding system. So I gave you a little bit of the history of that, because people think it's like, why is it suddenly that I am interested in my intuition? Yeah, and why perhaps for many years I was closed off for it? Well, because our society is set up in the way that we're actually closing it off. Yeah. And thank God, like I said, more and more children stayed open, are supported by their parents and by the teachers and by more and more communities to keep the energy open, to stay connected in. I have myself 3 children, and so I have seen the difference. Also, I have a 31-year-old son. I have a son of 23, and I have a daughter of almost 13. And so I have seen that how they could stay open to that intuition. Now, my oldest son, he came in my life when he was 4.5. So the first 4 years and a half, I had I could not guide him. Yeah. So I kept the energy open as long as he was 14. And by 14, I could see, like, from one week and the other, the guiding system closed off, and he became more unconscious. Now, I'm very happy to say that my youngest children, they stayed very wide open to receive the guidance. Now, it doesn't mean my oldest son doesn't have the guidance, but he's not always listening, or doesn't even remember where it's coming from. Yeah. And of course, everybody follows his own path and his own rhythm. But apparently you have opened up again. So most children, they close off at 7. Some children, if they're more evolved, they will close off their inner guiding system around 14, when their hormonal change is coming in. For some reason, the hormonal change can actually close off also that connection, because they are getting into fear about who they are. There's a huge fear that can come in, fear from ancestors, from the female line or from the male line, if they're the boys, that comes in about who they are the moment they become a young woman or a young man. But most people, I would say 70% of all people on the world, will close off at 7. And then another about 20% closes off at 14, and 10% stays open. And why do they stay open? Because they have already evolved beyond the opening and closing in previous lives. And so that opening from their inner guidance stayed open so widely in a previous life that when they come back, they stay open. Yeah. So it's very important for you to know that at a certain moment, you opened up again. You woke up again, as we call it. But what it actually is you woke up to use your intuition again. Now, your intuition was used once in a while, for sure. Some people would say, oh, I knew this. I should have done this, but I didn't listen. Yeah. And they're also afraid of this little voice or this little feeling that they have, because especially in the Western world, what happened in the thousands of years of, especially the last 1500 years in the Christian world, was that when you have some guidance, when you heard a little voice, when you felt something in your heart, the priests and the Catholic structure, the Christian structure, didn't want you to listen to it, because then they lost control over you. So they would start saying that if you heard something, or you saw something, or you felt something, that you were possessed by some evil spirit. And this is not true, right? So it is just because they wanted to keep the control away from your direct contact. They didn't want you to have direct contact. So they didn't want you to learn how to use your intuition. I remember when I was about 17, I was playing the org in the mass, the Holy Mass in the Catholic school. I could play a little bit org, and there was this priest that was guiding us. He was like, or the priest dedicated for the school. He was an old cardinal. He was a cardinal in retirement of the Catholic Church. And he had lived his whole life in Rome, but he came back to his hometown when he was plus 80. And he was really retired, but he still wanted to give the mass, and he came to do that in our school. And I remember looking at him, and I saw his magical hat. I saw the light above his head. And we're going to talk about this. Because when we see the light above the head, that means our bridge is open. Our rainbow bridge is open. Our connection is open with the universe. And I thought like, wow. Because it was like, for me, the first time I saw this with an older person. So I remember after I played the org, I went to see him, and I said, Monseigneur, that's what we call him. Yeah, Monseigneur means your excellence. Yeah. Your light is on above your head. And he looked at me and he smiled and said, your light is on above your head too. And I said, yes, because I already knew how to do this. And he said, let's have a talk. So he invited me, and he started guiding me and explaining to me some of the things that were normally not shared to, first of all, young people and women in the church. Yeah. And he said, this is information we get when we are bishops and cardinals. And I said, why do you share that with me? He said, because you're on that level. You know this information already. So he guided me for about 6 months, and then he passed on. And I'm still very honorable about him, and happy that I knew that this information is known in certain areas of religion. But, and I asked him, why don't you guys share this with us? He said, the people are not ready for this information. And I thought like, wow, they are so they're so wrong about this. You know, we are more than ready for this information. So anyhow, when we are looking into how to connect with our guidance, we're going to do some meditation, some visualizations to help you with this. So I think it's time for meditation now. So I would like you to sit in a relaxed position and to close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. And as you are breathing in and out, just become aware who you are. Feel your body. Feel the energy in your body. Feel also where you are, in your home, in nature. And feel that you are present here and now. And as you breathe deeper in and out, you come and sink in this space in your heart in a very relaxed, harmonious way. And feel more and more this silence, the deep silence within you. And just say to yourself, in your space of your heart, I am. And you can say that in your own language. I am. I am that I am. The first I am is you. You right now, right here. I am that. That is the bridge. I am that I am is the collective universal field of all that is, of all that ever was, that ever is, and that will ever be. I am that I am. Just feel that presence. Feel that presence of that total field of energy. And feel there is no barrier, no wall, no difference between you and this collective field. And the more you feel that and experience that, the more you will receive. You go more into that silence. Take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out. And now you are in that silence place. You can ask a question, a simple question. And as you are now connected in with that collective field, you can hear, you can feel, you can see the answer. Perhaps not right now, but open your whole self for the answer. And allow that answer now to be in your heart, even if it's just a frequency, just a thought, just energy. Even if you cannot name yet the answer, you don't understand yet the answer, just feel it's filling your heart. And when it fills your heart, it will show up in your life. Take a deep breath in and relax. Then bring your hands together. Move your hands. And bring your warm hands in front of your eyes. And then you can open your eyes. Wonderful. This was a very... I see some of you are chatting. That is lovely. So please, if you feel like you have a question for the people that are live on the call, or you want to share something, somebody's sharing, I feel this like electricity and see light too. I hear the response all over. Wonderful. This is a very simple but very ancient technique that I just used, where we just can really connect into these simple words. I am that I am. So the first I am is a small I am. Like it's like us. We're the smaller version of this supercomputer. And that is actually when we click enter. That's when we say we connect with the bridge to the I am. The I am that is all. And by asking the question and being in that silence and opening yourself up to the answer in your heart, it's just all you need to do. So when that happens, and some of you really felt it right away, so I'm really happy for that. Some of you had a little bit more challenging time, and that's okay because we have a few more sessions to work on it, right? And I'll teach you some other techniques. And for you, sometimes another technique is better, right? But it's actually just a frequency, an energy that is the response. But because we are still analytical, and we have learned to be analytical, that when we ask a question that we need to be able to write it down, that when a question is asked to us by the teacher, we have to answer in words. We have to be able to perform the answer because we still have the old way of the source outside of us asking the question. We're still thinking we have to do the same thing when we ask the question in ourselves, that it must be the same reaction as if it would be as from a teacher to a student. But that's not how it works. It works after a while like this. But first of all, it's accepting the energy of the answer. So when you ask the question, we need to kind of bring the question into energy and receive the energy, and then the answer will form itself into something more tangible, like a vision or a voice or a feeling or a knowing. But first, it's pure energy. So intuition is actually the message of energy that then is translated into something we can comprehend or understand with our analytical mind. That's why most people will say, I got a feeling. It was in my guts. It was like this light bulb went on. I mean, these are all expressions of energy. They are not answers in the typical way. And only after a while, they know what that light bulb was. It comes into an idea. The same happens for me when, for example, when I'm teaching something new, or a new class or a new seminar. It's like there's a process. I'm sending out the question to the universe. How can I guide people? How can I help people? Right? And so I get energy back. So my question, I just give it as energy into the silence and receive energy. And it takes me some time to put it in the format that would be words or a vision or a name, or it takes time. And the more you're getting used to it, the faster that energy translates into something comprehensible for our human brain. But before our brain can put it in a format, it's pure energy. And it's so right what Kathleen was saying. It's like electricity. Yeah? It's like bzzz. It's like what you see sometimes with people there. It's like they have this idea and it's like a little, I would say a flash. Yeah? They got a flash, or the light bulb went on, or lightning hit them. So it's this electrical energy that they have. Yeah. So interesting enough is it is indeed like a frequency, an electricity energy. After a while, you start knowing this is like as a warrant, as an answer is coming in. And when the answer comes in, it's like, I don't know how that works with you, but I actually get like on my iPhone, I get notifications, like, right? You hear this little buzz or peep or buzz or whatever, right? You don't always have time to read it, right? But there's a notification, right? A little bell that goes off. Well, at that moment, that little bell or little buzz is energy. You don't know yet what is on your iPhone or Android or smartphone until you read it. Like if I open this up now, okay, I see here a whole bunch of information, right? Now, I just felt the little buzz. It's the energy. But it's not visible yet for our brain what that actually is as an answer. But then the answer becomes in a format that we can understand. Now, most people, they do not allow that translation. They feel the energy, they feel like something is not right or something is right. They kind of feel it, but then they feel the energy, but they don't listen to what that energy really is about. Yeah? So there are two aspects. First of all is to be open to receive the energy of your intuition, and then to let your intuition translate it into a form that you can understand. Yeah? So when people feel this like little strange energy, most people just keep walking. Most people are just saying, it's one of these things. I'm not interested. Let me think with my brain. right? My mind said it's all nonsense, right? So we don't listen. But when we don't listen, we can't get a translation from that energy. And that's where these two steps are important. The energy of your intuition and then the translation of it. I sometimes have to sit a while with the energy. I don't push it away. I'm really busy, so I get new information. And then I have to sit in meditation. I have to take time to listen. Yeah. And this is one of the aspects I would like you to do before the next session, is to every day take time to listen to your intuition, to schedule intuition time. And you can say, how do I do that, Marie? Well, you can do that by sitting somewhere in nature, sitting somewhere in a favorite place at home. It can be by walking, but you need to be there alone. No noise, no cell phone, right? No, distraction. So where you can really say, okay, I asked some questions the last days. I received the messages because the emails came in. You just did not open up yet the emails. The little blings, bling, bling, bling went on. The universe was sending you the code, the frequency, but you did not open up the message. And the message, if it's the same with your emails, if you don't take time to look at your emails, you are not going to read the message. It's the same way with your intuition. The intuition is the bridge. The bridge is open. And for some of you, we'll open up the bridge a little bit more in the next sessions, right? But by taking time to look at the bridge, to see what's coming in, to experience it, you will actually start creating this muscle, this opening, this time for you to listen to what is there. And I know we're all very busy, and I sometimes have to really force myself to, okay, I've been too busy. I haven't had time to listen. Yeah. So when you have these feelings, whenever you have that moment that comes in, then take time to sit down and say, okay, I need to really listen to what has been in my field, but I got all these little blurbs and blings and peeps and things coming in, but I just haven't listened. Yeah. So listening time. So I would suggest you take 15 minutes, and you can choose when you do that, mornings or evenings. It depends what you feel, but it's good to do it during the daytime. I mean by that, not at night time. Why is that? Because our senses, that are actually the translators of the energy. So our visual, our ears, our smell, our taste, our feelings, actually these senses work stronger during the day when the sun is up than during the night. Yeah. That is also confirmed many times, that some people, they don't see so well at night, or they don't hear so well at night. So when it's night, and it's normal, because when it's during the night, we go more in the yin phase, in the introvert space. And when we receive messages, we need to stay a little bit in the extrovert space. We need to pick up the information, right? So our senses are stronger. So do this between sunrise and sunset. Yeah, there's 15 minutes of time. So I don't know where you are right now, but I'm already, late in the evening. It's already 10 p.m. for me. And so this is not the right time to do this, right? So for me, it's like my time in the morning. Yeah, I would even wake up a little bit earlier to take time to listen in to, what is my intuition saying? So that is one of the things I would definitely suggest for you to do. And ask the questions. And the first question, like I said, is to ask what is right for me? What do I need to do? Or to just very, very general questions. What is my journey? Or what is my direction? So I'm not going to ask you to go into details already, but just keep the question more general right now. Yeah? So that's one of the things I would suggest. Now, there was somebody who left here a message. And so, Marie, in the past, I had a feeling in my heart about someone. I would act on this and call the person. During the phone call, I did not always get a warm reception from the person she was calling. Afterwards, I felt relief in my heart, but I felt foolish. The call was awkward. Was I following my intuition accurately? Sometimes we feel something in our heart about someone. For me, it's like, I call it my satellite disk is responding. It's like I pick things up from someone. Now, calling that person is already a big step sometimes, especially if that person is not very open to your inner guiding system and doesn't trust his or her inner guiding system. Now, when it's somebody who's very awake, they will say, I start thinking about you and I felt I need to call you. Is there something I can help you with? Because if you just call, it's kind of awkward, right? But you can say, I just start thinking about you and, I'm reaching out. Perhaps, is there something I can help you with? And then people will be more open to it because they all want help, right? I do that sometimes, that I'm thinking about someone and I Skype them or I Facebook message them, and like this person keeps coming into my field, right? Energetically, and I'm thinking, okay, my intuition says I need to connect with that person. One of the things I will then ask is, do I need to connect with that person? Or do I perhaps just have to send wonderful energy to that person without calling them, right? So I think you were actually following your intuition very correctly, because when you have that feeling, it means it's there and you cannot deny it. What's in your heart, it's never wrong. It's perhaps the format, how you brought it, was not the right way. Yeah. Now, after a while, you will learn how to really see what is the best reaction and the right reaction especially towards other people, when you have something. And most of the time, this is the way I do it. It's just, I would say, I start thinking about you. And is all okay? Is there something I can help you with? And they're like, oh, it's so nice to think about me. I said, yeah, I don't know why, but, I'm here for you if you need me. Yeah. And that just opens up the space. And then they're like, well, yeah, you know what? I was thinking about you, or, yeah, I've been really going through some stuff and I don't know how to do this. And so I keep it quite open and I'm telling them, I'm here for you, right? Because sometimes my intuition is very clear for what I have to talk to them. And I get very clear information, but I don't always just call them and say, you know what has happened and this and this and this. No, I just open up the space for the conversation. Yeah. And then that person is like, yeah, I have this and this issue. And said, oh, that's interesting. I was thinking about this, and you can go further in this. So I think you were really good, but at the same time, you just didn't bring it perhaps the right way. So I hope this is helpful for you. Jennifer is leaving a message. This is a very important topic. Thank you for the reminder and holding the space for us to return to our best judgment. Looking forward to deepening mine was to breathe into my lower belly in response to the question, how to better feel supported? And the support is all around me. Very thanks for taking time. It's very important that you follow when you are in that silence. You follow the guidance that you have at that time. Even if it feels a little bit strange, that guidance in the beginning. Because if you don't try it out, you will never know if it's the right thing. Of course, don't try out things that are dangerous, for example, right? So, but like you felt like that you need to breathe into your lower belly. Then follow that. Yeah. Over the many years that I really have connected with my inner guidance system, I have done things that were totally strange for others. Really. Yeah. And at the same time, I knew that it was right for me. So I remember when I told my mother that I would stop with being a lawyer and I would start teaching meditation and how to bring people to enlightenment. Now, I have to tell you, she was not very happy for that. Why? Well, she had really worked very hard to get the money together to get me through my college degrees. Yeah. So for her, it was like a little slap in her face, to be honest. Yeah. So I said to my mom, I said, I want you to open up to your intuition and see what comes up for you, why I do this. Yeah. Now my mom was, Catholic, and even if she was already doing some meditation, she was open to a lot of spiritual energy, but she was very still in a Catholic form. And then she went into her guidance and she asked, if she needed to support me in this or not. And the message she received was, she said, well, Marie is like a Bernadette Soubirous. Now, Bernadette Soubirous was someone that in, I think, early 1900s, saw an apparition of Mother Mary in Lourdes in France. And she said, well, she needed support by her family too, because it was strange what she did. So for not that I was not Bernadette Soubirous, but my mom kind of could understand that I had to do something special for the world and that it was better if she would support me, because otherwise Bernadette was not able to do her work and I wasn't able to do my work. So she was totally fine with that message she received for her intuition. But I always thought it was very beautiful. But I remember when she said, I have this message from where? And I said, well, from your intuition. It comes from over the bridge, what the ancients would call the Rainbow Bridge or the Golden Bridge. And she said, yeah, but from who? Is it from an angel? Is it from Jesus? Is it from Mary? She wanted to really know, like, who is the one that gave me that message, right? And I said, but what if it comes from within you, from the God within you? Now, that was a little bit too difficult for her. So she kind of settled and said, it comes from St. Joseph. He's always been my, patron, and it comes from St. Joseph. I said, okay, Mom, whatever feels right for you, it's right for you, right? So it doesn't matter, actually, yeah, as long as it was received, the message, and she got the energy. So what I would like you to do is to make sure you take time, and even that will be already a little bit challenging for some of you, because your analytical mind will say, I don't need time for this. And remember, your analytical mind is actually connecting with what we call the ego, the lower self, that will come up with all the excuses of the world to say, I don't have time for myself. I don't have time for this. But let's be honest, how much time do you have to look at Facebook and to Instagram and to look at your emails and to watch your favorite TV shows? I think you have plenty of time, right? So that's one of the things that I would like you to take care of, and to ask the question and to go into that silence and say, I am that I am. And go deeper and deeper and feel the energy. Feel the energy of that vibration. So a question that somebody's asking, how do I know when the message is intuitively or something from the ego? Well, we're going into that a little bit deeper in the next session, because I want first you to get into that space of receiving. Now, I also have asked that you would create a little notebook, yeah, so that you would have some notebook ready that would be your intuition notebook, and that you would start making notes from day per day, intuition notes. And some of you will receive your intuition notes when you wake up. Some it will be during the day, and you won't know if it's really your intuition or if it's a disruption. Is it a voice from fear, or a voice of lack, or a voice of doubt? So this is already what I'm going to give you as answer, is that when it's a message from ego, these are 3 signs that it's a message that focuses on limitations, that focuses on fears, and makes you doubt about who you are and what you do. When it's one of these 3, it is 100% sure an ego reaction. When it's a message of expansion, a message of possibilities, a message of peace, a message where there's harmony, a message of joy, a message of excitement, then it's most likely an intuition. So next week or next session, we're going to go deeper into how to protect ourselves from the interferences that we might have from our analytical mind, yeah, for I would say the minds of others, our ancestors, our parents, our teachers, that somehow are still in our subconscious mind, present as a truth, as a program. Yeah? And when we ask a question, that its programs start running suddenly, because this would be normally their reaction and their answer. But that doesn't mean that is the answer that is right for you. Okay, remember, it must be right for you. So even if we are oneness, we are connect with the collective field, still you are an individual self with your own karma, your own journey, your own purpose. And therefore, what is right for you is therefore not right for me, based on your unique self. Yeah. Now, sometimes a message can be right for a whole family, or for a whole community, or for a whole country even. But that is because then there's a connection between the people in that family, in that community, in that country, that unites them, and they are a united, unique self, a united personal energy. So I just want to see if there's any questions so far about what we've just been sharing, or any remarks. You can text into the chat. Now, people that were not live on the call, you can always email to office@mariediamond.com. And so you have some homework to do. And before we end for today, we're going to do a little visualization. So we are going to close our eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in. We're going back to that space in our heart, place of peace. We're going to that space of I am, that I am. And feel your heart now expanding to receive more from your intuition. Some of you, your heart space is very limited because you haven't used your heart space to receive for a long time. So take a deep breath in and open up your lungs, and at the same time open up the gland of your heart chakra that in the middle of your torso between your lungs. Just take a deep breath in and open up. Let go. You can even put your hand or your both hands on that heart chakra space and feel that space expanding as you breathe in and out, and you're saying in yourself, I am that I am. and feel there's space to receive. There's space to receive the messages from the universe. Then bring again your hands together. Oh, move your hands. Bring your hands in front of your eyes and open gently your eyes. Let go of your hands. Wonderful. Just one last thing that I would like to give you as homework. When you are hydrated, your brain works better, but also your chakras work better. That means also your heart chakra is opening up more when you're hydrated. So I would ask you to drink more water this week. So if you drink 2-3 glasses, then you go for a glass more. If you drink 4 or 5 glasses, drink 6 glasses. So drink more water. Yeah. It's not just good for the body, it is good for your intuition. Also try to, if you are drinking a lot of sodas, try instead of drinking soda, some water, or drink a glass of water before you drink a glass of soda when you are thirsty, because we're going to go deeper into it, how certain foods are actually making it more difficult for you to receive a clear information from over the bridge. So I wish you a wonderful time. And I'm going to open up the line so we can say goodbye to each other. Okay, so
bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Nice to see you. Bye.
Bye.